What if walking away didn't free her, but broke her instead? She thought it'd be a breeze, a clean break, a fresh start. She told herself that if she just packed her days with noise, surrounded herself with friends, dove headfirst into new projects, the sting would fade like a summer cloud drifting out of sight. Welcome back to Stoic Spirit. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We're diving deep into the truths that shape us. And trust me, you'll want to stick around to the end for the one lesson that could change everything. At first, she pulls it off, or so it seems. She's out there, laughing over mimosas at brunch, snapping selfies with that flawless filter, posting "chasing my dreams" like she's got life by the reins. To her crew, to him, to the whole watching world, she's untouchable, unshaken, like he was just a page she's already turned. That's the act she's selling, polished, perfect, and airtight. Most of all, to herself. But here's the twist that cuts deep. The heart doesn't buy the lie. Behind the curated Instagram grid, the late-night wine with the girls, the "I'm good" mask she's nailed down, a storm's brewing inside. A silent, relentless battle she won't let anyone glimpse. She swears she's over it, that she's tougher now, that he's just a shadow she can shrug off. But the truth? It's not that neat and tidy. This isn't some fling she can dust off her hands and forget. It's the slow, searing burn of realizing what she let slip wasn't just another guy. It was real. And that truth doesn't crash in loud, it creeps up, sharp and steady, until it's a weight she can't ignore. Let's step into her world now. Section 1. The self-deception starts to crumble. For a while, she's got it locked down tight. Or at least, that's the lie she's feeding herself. She builds a fortress of distractions around her heart. Playlists pumping through her earbuds like a shield against the silence. Girls' nights out where the laughter drowns out her thoughts. Endless scrolls on TikTok until her eyes blur, all to keep the quiet from creeping in. She's even got herself half convinced she's the victor in this messy game of letting go. He's the one who should be reeling, not me, she murmurs under her breath, a smirk tugging at her lips as if she's cracked the code to moving on. She's clinging to that narrative, that she's the one who walked away unscathed, the one holding all the cards, because it's the only thing keeping her afloat. But then the cracks slip through, sneaky and merciless, like uninvited guests crashing her carefully staged party. They're small at first, almost dismissible, tiny fractures in her armor that hit her like a sucker punch when she least expects it. She's walking home after a long day, headphones in, lost in her own rhythm, when that coffee shop looms into view. The one they used to haunt on lazy Sundays, splitting a latte and trading stories. Her feet freeze mid-step, breath catching like someone yanked the air from her lungs. Later that night, she's sprawled on her couch, scrolling X in the dim glow of her phone, and her fingers hover over his profile. Has he posted something new? Is he out there, laughing with someone else, living a life that doesn't include her anymore? Her pulse quickens, betraying the calm she's trying to fake. She tries to shrug it off, brushing it aside like lint on her sleeve. It's just curiosity, nothing more, she tells herself, forcing a hollow laugh that echoes in the empty room. But it's a lie, and she knows it. It means everything. The harder she digs her heels in, trying to bury those memories under layers of noise and denial, the fiercer they push back, clawing their way to the surface. His voice cuts through the chatter of a crowded bar like a blade, sharp and unyielding. The way he'd tease her, playful, just to coax out that smile she couldn't hide. Flashes in her mind like a movie she can't pause. Those late nights when it was just them, no pretense, no walls, just raw, unguarded moments, they haunt her now, whispering truths she can't outrun. She thought she could sprint past it all, that if she just kept moving, kept her days packed and her mind buzzing, the past wouldn't dare catch up. She figured she'd leave it in the dust, a fading speck in her rear view. But it's not the breakup itself that keeps replaying in her head like a broken record. It's the little pieces she swore she'd never miss. The way he'd hum off-key to her favorite song, the quiet comfort of his presence on a rough day, the stupid nicknames that only made sense to them. Those fragments are carving into her soul, etching deeper with every step she takes to pretend they don't matter. She's not just running from him anymore. She's running from the realization that what she's lost isn't so easy to shake, and it's starting to show in ways she can't hide. So let's peel back the mask she's wearing. Section 2. The real pain breaks through. Her facade holds up for a while. Weeks, maybe even a month or two. A fragile shield she's polished to perfection. She's a master at this game, slipping into the role of the woman who's too tough to crack, too strong to let a single tear slip. She wears that armor like it's second skin, deflecting questions with a grin, steering conversations away from the past with the finesse of a seasoned pro. But then, like a storm rolling in off the horizon, it shifts, and this time, there's no missing it. She's out with her crew, the bar buzzing with chatter and clinking glasses, when someone, maybe a friend who doesn't know better, drops his name into the mix, casual as tossing a coin. Her chest locks up like a vice, breath snagging in her throat. She forces a laugh, quick and sharp, takes a slow sip of her cocktail to steady her hands. But inside, it's a blow she can't dodge, a raw, jagged hit that lands square in her gut and won't let go. From that moment, he's everywhere. Not physically, not standing in front of her, but lurking in the shadows of her everyday life. She passes the diner where they'd split a greasy basket of fries after a long shift, ketchup stains on the table and his dumb grin across from her. She flips through her phone and stumbles on that playlist he made her. Half love songs, half cheesy throwbacks she'd roll her eyes at, but secretly adored. And her thumb hovers over delete, but she can't press it. Those stupid jokes he'd toss out, the ones that only made sense between them, sneak into her head when she's alone, pulling a smirk she hides from the mirror. It's relentless, this flood of echoes she can't shut out, seeping through the cracks she swore she'd sealed tight. And here's the blade that twists deepest, the one that guts her when she's least ready. It's not just him she's missing. It's who she became when she was with him. That version of herself that felt unshackled, truly seen, vibrantly alive. Like she didn't have to dance for approval because he already knew every step of her soul. She'd catch herself in those moments, laughing louder, dreaming bigger, softer in ways she didn't know she could be. And it was effortless with him. Like breathing. She thought she could trade that in, patch it up with a new date, a wild weekend escape, or some flirty stranger with a smooth line. She'd sit across from them, nodding at their small talk, waiting for that spark to flare up, but it's a bust every time. These guys she meets now, they're decent, cute enough to turn heads, charming enough to fill a night, but they don't get her like he did. They don't ignite that fire that used to warm her from the inside out. Don't pierce past the polished surface she shows the world. Don't stir that rare electric pull she didn't even register until it was snuffed out. That's when the truth crashes in, heavy and unyielding, like a wave she can't swim against. She didn't just lose him, she lost something irreplaceable, a piece of her own light she can't recreate. She swipes through apps, meets new faces, chases fleeting thrills, but it's like trying to catch smoke with her bare hands. Nothing holds, nothing stays. The realization sinks its teeth in deeper with every failed try. He wasn't just another guy in her story, some placeholder she could swap out when the chapter ended. He was the rare kind of real that doesn't come twice, the kind she didn't know to treasure until it slipped through her fingers. And now, no amount of scrolling, no parade of new smiles, no desperate grab for distraction can pull it back from the void she left behind. Now let's confront the fallout she can't avoid. Section 3. The peak of regret and the fear of being forgotten. The real blow doesn't creep in slow. It lands like a freight train, full force, unstoppable. The moment she catches a glimpse of him moving on while she's still spinning her wheels, stuck in neutral, tires sinking deeper into the mud of her own making. Maybe it's a friend dropping a casual bombshell over coffee. He's doing great, you know, really killing it out there. Their words slicing through her like a shard of glass she didn't see coming, sharp enough to draw blood she can't hide. Or maybe it's subtler, a cryptic post flickering across her screen. Some blurry photo or vague caption screaming, "New vibe, fresh start." A neon sign he's rewriting his story without her name anywhere in the margins. He's out there, not just living, but maybe even shining, building something new, laughing with new faces, his days brightening while she's still caught in the quicksand of what-ifs, replaying every should've and could've like a worn-out tape she can't eject. She'd bet her last dollar she'd be the one to bounce back first. Pictured him as the one hunched over his phone, stalking her stories, scrolling through her curated life, wondering if she still gave a damn. But the script flips fast, and it's brutal. She's the one trapped, refreshing his feed with a desperation she won't name, scanning every pixel for hints of his world, holding her breath every time her phone lights up with a notification, only to feel the sting when it's not him. It's never him, and that silence cuts deeper with every passing beat. Then it happens, the moment that shatters what's left of her grip. She's doom-scrolling late at night, the blue glow stinging her tired eyes when she stumbles on it. A photo of him, that familiar grin flashing wide, but this time with someone new. Some woman's arm looped through his, her head tilted close, their smiles syncing like they've got a rhythm she'll never know. Her knees buckle, the phone slipping from her hand as her stomach twists into a knot she can't untie. It's not just a picture, it's a guillotine, dropping fast, severing the last thread of control she clung to. She thought she could handle him moving on in theory, but seeing it, his hand brushing someone else's, his eyes lighting up for a stranger, sends her reeling into a free fall she can't stop. That image burns into her mind, a cruel loop she can't pause, amplifying every doubt she's been dodging. That emptiness? It roars louder than any screaming match they ever had, louder than the nights they tore into each other over petty nonsense she can barely recall now. It's a void that echoes through her bones, hollowing her out, dragging her into a spiral of doubt she can't claw her way out of. Did he ever really feel what she did? Those late-night confessions spilling out under a blanket of stars? Those promises whispered in the dark when the world felt small? Or was she just a detour, a pit stop while he figured out who he wanted to be? She dives into the wreckage of their past, digging through old chats like an archaeologist hunting for relics, searching for that one text, that one "I miss you" or "you're everything," to prove she wasn't nothing to him, that she left some indelible mark. She replays those late-night calls in her head, his sleepy voice weaving through her memories like a thread she's desperate to hold, trying to stitch together evidence that it wasn't all a mirage she built alone. But the deeper she plunges, the emptier it feels. A cold, sinking hollow that swells with every unanswered question. Because he's not reaching out. He's not texting just to check in, not dropping a like, not hovering in her DMs like she half hopes he might with that old familiar ache. He's not waiting for her to circle back, and that stillness is a blade twisting in her side, relentless and cold. And then comes the worst fear of all, the one that claws at her gut like a beast she can't tame, a predator she can't outrun. He's erasing her from his world entirely, wiping her out like a sketch he's done with, a draft he's tossed aside. She thought she'd always hold a thread tied to him, a thin, unbreakable line of memory, a piece of her etched into his mind the way he's seared into hers, a permanent tattoo she can't scrub off. She'd banked on him carrying some echo of her. The way her laugh used to light up his face, the quiet moments they'd steal from the chaos, the way she'd catch him staring like she was the only thing that mattered. Like a scar he couldn't fade, a weight he'd always feel. But now she's staring down the barrel of a truth she can't dodge, a loaded gun cocked and ready she didn't see coming. He might already be past her name, past her voice, past the gravity of what they were. While she's still here, tangled in the wreckage, whispering his name into the dark like a prayer no one's answering, he's out there, untethered, free in a way she didn't think possible, living a life where she's just a footnote, if that. That fear, it's not just regret anymore. It's a terror that she's fading into his rear view, a ghost he's already left behind in the dust, while she's still clutching shadows he doesn't even see. Shadows that slip through her fingers like smoke she can't hold. So let's stand in the wreckage she can't escape. Section 4. Facing a truth she can't undo. It doesn't just creep up this time. It slams into her like a freight train barreling down a track she can't outrun. Full speed, no brakes, no mercy, leaving her reeling in its deafening wake. She scrambles to push back, clawing for some shred of control over the chaos swallowing her whole. She cranks the volume on her distractions, piling her nights with louder music, brighter lights, anything to drown out the ache that's clawing at her insides. She hits the bars harder, letting the buzz of strangers and the sharp sting of whiskey blur the edges of her unraveling thoughts. She even flirts with some new guy, a sharp jawline, a slick smile that promises a quick fix, leaning into the rush just to feel alive again, to prove she's still in the game, still worth a damn. But it's a dead end, every single time, a hollow echo that fades fast. The laughter dies out, the drinks wear off, and that fleeting high crashes into dust, because it's not about passing the hours or chasing a cheap thrill. It's about filling a void he carved out of her soul, a gaping, jagged hollow she didn't even know existed until he was gone, and nothing she hurls at it, no stranger's charm, no late-night buzz, fits, not even close. She'd always thought she was the one in the driver's seat, calling the shots with a steady hand on the wheel, a queen commanding her own stage, that walking away was her power play, her bold, unshakable move to reclaim her life. She'd strutted off that battlefield, head high, chin up, convinced she'd left him in the dust, scrambling to catch her shadow as she blazed ahead. But now, the fog lifts and the truth cuts through, sharp and brutal. She wasn't the only one with a vote. He had a say too, a quiet choice she never counted on. And while she was busy spinning her web of denial, pretending she didn't need him, didn't feel the pull of his absence, he was quietly cutting the strings, letting her go with a calm, deliberate step into a version of himself that doesn't glance back, doesn't linger in the rear view she'd banked on him haunting. He's not chasing her ghost anymore. He's out there, free, forging a path she can't trace, a road she'll never walk again. One restless night, the cracks widen, and her resolve snaps like a brittle twig underfoot. She caves, desperation seeping through the seams she's fought to hold shut. She fires off a text, fingers trembling over the keys, keeping it casual like, "Hey, how's it going?" A lifeline tossed into the dark, praying for a spark, a flicker of the heat they once had. But that's not enough. She's too far gone for half measures. She dials his number, heart pounding as it rings, each unanswered tone a hammer to her chest, until it cuts to voicemail. His voice, flat and distant, a stranger's echo. She hangs up, breath shallow, and pivots to a mutual friend, voice tight as she fishes for scraps. "Have you seen him lately? How's he holding up?" The answer stings. He's good, better than ever, like she never crossed his mind. And it's a punch she can't block, a confirmation he's not just surviving, but thriving without her. His reply to her text pings back later, short and cool, clipped like a stranger's handshake. "Good you?" No heat, no pull, no trace of the man who once lit up at her name. Just a locked gate swinging shut where there used to be an open road, wide and warm, beckoning her in. That's when it lands, heavy as a stone dropping into still water, ripples spreading through her core. He's not the guy she left behind, not the one she could twist around her finger with a sly smile or a soft word. He's tougher now, his edges honed sharper, his gaze clearer, free in a way she never saw coming. A man who's shed the weight of her like an old coat he doesn't need anymore. And her? She's the one sinking, drowning in a tide of regret that pulls her under while he's out there building something new. New walls, new dreams, a life that doesn't have her name scratched into its corners. A world where her shadow doesn't even flicker. The pain isn't just that she lost him, it's deeper, more jagged than that. A wound that bleeds fresh every time she breathes. It's that she lost the woman she could have been with him. The one he saw through the mess, the one he believed in before she turned her back and tossed it all away like it was nothing. She catches glimpses of that ghost in the quiet, laughing until her sides ached, dreaming wild and fearless, letting her guard down because he made it safe to fall, to be raw, to be real. Now that's gone, slipped through her grasp like sand she didn't know she was holding, and he's out there. A stranger she can't reach, a silhouette fading into a horizon she'll never cross. She's left alone, clutching the shards of a choice she can't rewind. Sharp, broken pieces of a life she didn't fight for, cutting deeper with every what-if that loops through her mind, every echo of a future she'll never touch, every whisper of a love she let die. Now let's rise from her ruins. Here's the final truth to carry forward. Final thoughts. This isn't about her tears staining the pillow or the echo of her goodbye fading into the night. It's about what she feels when the smoke clears, when the chaos settles and the wreckage of her choices stares back at her. Unrelenting and raw, a mirror she can't turn away from. It's not the surface cracks that define this story, it's the weight pressing down on her chest when the lights go out and the world falls silent, forcing her to face the truth she's dodged too long. A high-value man doesn't shatter under the hammer of loss. He meets it eye to eye, unflinching, owns every jagged piece of it, and rises from the ashes stronger, sharper, unbowed, reborn in the fire he didn't choose but won't let break him. Stoicism isn't just some ancient scribble on a dusty page, it's the steel forged deep in your core, the unbreakable spine that holds you steady when life splits wide open and threatens to swallow you whole. A quiet power that turns pain into purpose. She thought she could sidestep the hurt, dance around it with a smile and a lie, pretending it didn't sting, pretending she was untouchable. But that game didn't erase the pain. It piled it up, brick by heavy brick, into a burden she can't shake off, a shadow that trails her every step, whispering truths she can't outrun, a lesson carved in the cost of what she lost. If she's gone, if she slipped through your fingers and left you standing in the dust, don't waste your breath chasing ghosts that won't turn back, phantoms that dissolve when you reach for them. Stop running after what's already faded into the haze of yesterday. Those echoes aren't your chains anymore. Turn the lens inward, where the real work waits, where your strength takes root. Forge your discipline like a blade, relentless, precise, cutting through the noise of doubt with every swing. Carve out your clarity until it's a beacon, lighting the path through the darkest nights, guiding you when the storm howls loudest. Build a strength that doesn't lean on her memory to stand tall, a quiet, unshakable force that's yours alone, rooted in the man you're becoming. Not the one she left behind, a foundation no one can tear down. This is where Stoicism turns real, right here, right now. Start with one small act. Grab a pen, write down what you can control today. Maybe it's your next breath, your next step, the way you face the mirror instead of turning away. That's the spark. Build from there, day by day, until the weight lifts and the past shrinks to a speck you barely glance at. Take it from a guy I know. He'd hit rock bottom, lost her, lost his footing, felt the same hollow she did. One night, he grabbed a scrap of paper, scribbled a list. My focus, my effort, my choice to keep going. It wasn't poetry, just raw truth, but it changed his week. He started small, skipped the bar for a walk, swapped scrolling for a book, faced the quiet instead of drowning it out. By day 3, he felt the shift. By the end, he was standing taller. Not because she came back, but because he didn't need her to. That's Stoicism in action. Not grand gestures, but steady steps, stacking wins until the man he saw in the mirror wasn't a wreck anymore, but a warrior carving his own path. You've stood where she fell, lost someone, and found yourself again. The right one, the one worth the fire in your soul, won't need you to wave a flag or shout your worth from the rooftops. She'll see that flame burning steady in the way you carry yourself, head high, scars worn proud. In the resolve you've hammered into every choice, every step forward, a man who's faced the abyss and walked out whole. True value doesn't beg for eyes, it commands them effortlessly, because it's forged in the crucible of your own making. A legacy you craft with every move you make from here on out. A question for you. When did you feel her slip away? Really feel it deep in your bones? Was it a moment that hit like a thunderclap, a crack that split your world, or a slow bleed you didn't clock until it was too late? How did you stand up to that storm, or did you stumble, let it knock you flat? Share your truth below. I read every word, every story, because this isn't just her fight, it's ours too. A battle we've all faced in the dark. If this cut deep, hit like, if this reached into your soul and shook something loose, if it lit a spark you didn't know was there. Subscribe for more Stoic truths that strike hard and lift you higher. Insights that don't just sit there but demand you rise to meet them, tools to carve your path. Comment, I am whole, to stake your claim, to declare you're not a fragment of what was, but a man complete in what you build now, unbroken and unbowed. Thanks for watching, for giving me your time. It's worth more than you know, a gift I don't take lightly. Stay stoic, stay real. The past doesn't own you, It's a shadow you've outgrown, a chain you've already snapped. You own what you forge from this moment forward. Every scar a testament, every step a victory, every breath a claim to the man you are. Next up on your screen, when you stop running, you win. Because the second you let go of what's gone, everything shifts and the world bends toward the man you've become.